Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here it is, another Wednesday, and today's topic that we have for you today is do not go to psychics. And why is it that I tell you not to go to a psychic? Will something bad happen? What's the deal with telling us not to go to psychics? Well, I do have a reason. I do have a very good reason for not going to psychics. And I'm about to give that to you. Now, I'd like to make a statement. Do not go to any psychics who claim to be in contact with your dead loved ones because they do not know. Instead, pray to Goddess for the well-being of your dead loved ones. And this is very important to know because they do not know. Okay, this is the reason why you should not go to psychics. They do not know. They may claim to know. They may say that they're talking to your dead loved one right now and that they hear your dead loved one's voice in their head and that they're talking to you and that they're communicating with you and have something important to say to you. But they do not know. And I have a personal experience to share that proves that psychics do not know what they're talking about. That they're just making it up as they go along and see if anything sticks. They're practiced at that. What these so-called psychics do is they say something. If it doesn't stick, they say something else until you give them an affirmation. Yes, that's true, and then they say something else until it sticks. And that's how they work. They're psychological manipulators. They fool you into thinking that they know something about your life, and they're getting it all wrong. But it seems like they're getting it right because they affirm what sticks, what they say at random that is true. And what they say at random that seems true is what sticks, and that's what makes them seem like psychics, but they're not really psychics. Now, I'll tell you, I have a little story for you as a cautionary tale about psychics and how they fool people into thinking that they're legitimate and that they're true psychics when they're not psychics. And this is so important that I just decided that I had to share this with you because it's so important. It's so important to know that you can't trust psychics, that they cannot. Now, is there such a thing as psychic phenomena? Yes, there is, but I'll get to that later. Okay, so the psychic we went to after my grandmother died. Me and my mom went to this psychic, or this person who was claiming to be a psychic, after my grandmother died, and she told us that my grandmother was in a coma in the afterlife, and that she was non-responsive, and that she couldn't give us any messages from my grandmother because my grandmother was in a coma-like state in the afterlife, that she couldn't communicate. And this is not true. I know for a fact this is not true because my grandmother raised a pair of keys and jingled them after she died. The first thing she did after she died was raise a pair of keys and jingle them like she wanted to go out for a ride. So I know that she's not in a coma-like state. First of all, I know that she's not in a coma-like state because she jingled the keys. And when I told the psychic that she jingled a pair of car keys and that she was alert and active she doubled down on her proclamation that she doubled down on her proclamation that my grandmother was in a coma-like state. And she said what happened, she came up with a little explanation real quick. She said that my grandmother had gotten sucked into a mirror, that when you look into a mirror when you're dead, that your soul gets sucked into the mirror and then you get trapped there, and that you're in a coma-like state being trapped inside a mirror. I didn't buy that either. I didn't buy that one little bit. And she said that you have to cover all the mirrors so that the dead person doesn't get sucked into a mirror. I did not buy that. I did not buy her explanation that my grandmother got sucked into a mirror. And I did not buy her explanation that my grandmother was in a coma-like state and that she couldn't communicate with her. It was all bullshit. Bullshit. I know that I don't swear very often, but I can't help it because you need to know what it is. It's pure and utter bullshit that saying that my grandmother was non-responsive when I saw her jingle a pair of car keys right in front of us. She did it. And I'll never go to a psychic again. My experience was bad enough that I would never go to a psychic again. And I know how these psychics on TV work. These psychics on TV work by planting people out in the audience that they've already come up with a story with, and they pay them. They pay these plants out in the audience, that they pay them to say, "Oh yes, that's true. That's," and to make up a story about their dead loved one, like a dead brother or a dead mother or whatever, that they call on these people at random supposedly, but they really choosing these people specifically because they've already come up with a storyline with them, and they're paying them their paid shills to make the psychic look like they're real accurate, and they're not. They're not accurate when you meet them in real life. In fact, they're highly inaccurate. But they will try to make it seem as if they're accurate by seeing what sticks, by going over initials and names until something sticks, until something seems accurate, and then they say that they're communicating with your dead loved one. They're not communicating with your dead loved one. They do not know. They do not know what happens to your dead loved ones. Only Goddess knows that. Now, do these psychics, is there really such a thing as psychic phenomena? Yes, there is such a thing as psychic phenomena, but this is the caveat that's very important. It cannot be controlled. Okay, at all. It cannot be controlled at all. So if you try to use it to try to use your psychic powers to come up with the answers to a question, you cannot do it at all. It's not possible. It doesn't work. And it's the truth. It's the truth that these psychics are paid shills that don't know what's going on. Now, how do I know that there's such a thing as psychic phenomena? Well, because when 9/11 happened, the night before 9/11, me and my mom both dreamt about an airplane crash the same night. My mom dreamt about blood on an airplane wing, and I dreamt about a plane crash. And we both dreamt about plane crashes the same night. And then we woke up, turned on the TV, and there was the World Trade Center and the buildings the planes crashing into the buildings. And that happened the same night. So it was obviously a psychic experience. So yes, there is such a thing as psychic phenomena, but you can't control it, and you can't will it when you want it. So, just so you know, you're wasting your money if you go to a psychic because they cannot control it. They cannot make something happen if it's not going to happen, and if they don't want to make something happen, they cannot control it. So they cannot answer your questions. I couldn't answer your questions, and I've had very big psychic experiences in my life, and I can't answer your questions. So if I can't answer your questions, nobody can, okay? That's the truth. You can't control it, and it only comes when it comes and happens when it happens, and it doesn't happen very often. So, and if it happens more often, then great, but they still can't control it, and they still can't answer questions about people. So that's the truth. That's the answer. Wasting your time, wasting your money if you go to a psychic, and they can't help you. So that's the truth. And there's been debunkers out there that have debunked psychic phenomena, and the reason that the debunkers are so successful is because it's something that can't be controlled. It can't be reproduced in a laboratory because it's it's not under control. It's something you can't control. So that's the answer. That's what it is. Something out of our human control, and it happens sometimes. It happens sometimes, but it's outside of our human control, so we can't control it. So we can't answer questions for people. I'm Sarah Jane Alpha Wolf signing off. Um, it's still purification, so stick with your diet, and I'll see you next time.